Today we are going to talk about how to find the greatest common factor of two numbers, also called the GCF. Sometimes we call the greatest common factor the highest common factor, called HCF. What is the greatest common factor of 8 and 16? The first step is to find all the factors of these two numbers and then choose the greatest one which both numbers have in common. Now, what are the factors of 8? The factors of 8 are those numbers which we multiply to 8. So the numbers 1 and 8 are factors of 8, because when multiplying 1 by 8, we got 8, right? What about 2 and 4? 2 and 4 are also numbers which multiply to 8. So we can say the numbers 1, 2, 4 and 8 are all factors of 8. Let's put them in our list. 1, 2, 4, 8. We see that these are all numbers that divide evenly into 8 without a remainder. 8 divided by 1 is 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 8 divided by 4 is 2. And 8 divided by 8 is 1. So instead of asking yourself the question, which numbers multiply to 8, you also could ask, which numbers divide into 8 evenly? 1, 2, 4 and 8 divide into 8 evenly, because 8 times 1 is 8, 4 times 2 is 8, 2 times 4 is 8, and 1 times 8 is 8. That's why we call the greatest common factor sometimes the greatest common divisor, also called GCD. So the greatest common factor and the greatest common divisor are exactly the same. Don't get confused when you see the letters GCD instead of the letters GCF. So again, this is very important. You can find the factors of a number by asking yourself the question, which numbers multiply to 8? Or you can ask yourself the question, which numbers divide into 8 evenly? Make a list of all these numbers, also called factors. So 1, 2, 4 and 8 are the factors of the number 8. Now, what are the factors of the number 16? Feel free to pause the video and ask yourself the question, which numbers multiply to 16 or which numbers divide into 16? A factor and a divisor are kind of the same thing here. Let's find out the factors of 16. 1 divides into 16, 2 divides into 16, 3 does not divide into 16 because there's no whole number which we can multiply by 3 to get 16. 4 divides into 16, 5, 6, 7 does not divide into 16, but 8 and 16 divide into 16. So the factors of 16 are 1, 2, 4, 8 and 16. Let's ask the other question for the sake of practice. Which numbers multiply to 16? Let's see. 1 times 16 equals 16. 2 times 8 equals 16. 4 times 4 equals 16. 8 times 2 equals 16. And 16 times 1 equals 16. Make sure that you list each factor once. So with the answer to the question which numbers multiply to 16, we also get the factors of 16. By the way, we see that the number 1 and the number itself are always factors of the original number. In other words, 1 is a factor of 8 and 8 is a factor of 8. 1 is a factor of 16 and 16 is a factor of 16. Let's move on with our example. The first step is done. We found all the factors of the number 8, which are 1, 2, 4 and 8. And we found all the factors of the number 16, which are 1, 2, 4, 8 and 16. Now, the second step is to find common factors between these two factors. In other words, which factors do these two numbers have in common? Or let's say, which factors are the same in this list? Same factors between 8 and 16 are the factors 1, 2, 4 and 8. And the third and last step is to look for the largest, also called the greatest factor, between these common factors. So the greatest common factor between 8 and 16 is 8. In other words, the GCF is the biggest number which divides evenly into 8 and 16. We see that the name greatest common factor tells us exactly what it is. Again, these are all common factors of 8 and 16. But the 8 is the greatest common factor of 8 and 16. Let's try another example. What is the greatest common factor of 12 and 18? Ask yourself the question, which numbers divide into 12 evenly? 1 divides into 12, 2 divides into 12, 3, 4, 5 does not, 6 divides into 12, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 does not, but 12 divides into 12 evenly. So the factors of 12 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 and 12. We do the same with the number 18. Feel free to pause the video and find these numbers. The numbers are 1, 2, 3, 6, 9 and 18. The next step is to find common factors in our list. Which factors do we have on both sides? The 1, the 2, the 3 and the 6. And the last step is to choose the greatest of all these common factors, which is 6. So the greatest common factor of 12 and 18 is 6. Now, let's look at the next example. What is the GCF of 24 and 40? Which are the numbers that divide into 24 and into 40? Feel free to pause the video, grab some paper and pen, and make your list without a calculator. The numbers that fit into 24 evenly without a remainder left over are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, and 24. And the numbers that fit into 40 evenly without a remainder left over are 1, 2, 4, 5, 8, 10, 20, and 40. The second step is to mark common factors, which are 1, 2, 4, and 8. And the last step is to choose the greatest common factor, which is 8. So the GCF of 24 and 40 is 8. Let's solve the last example. What is the GCF of 36 and 45? Feel free to pause the video, grab some paper and pen and make your list without a calculator. Again, the first step is to make our list with all numbers that fit into 36 and 45. The numbers that fit into 36 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 9, 12, 18, and 36. And the numbers that fit into 45 are 1, 3, 5, 9, 15, and 45. The second step is to mark all the common factors, which are 1, 3, and 9. And the third and last step is to choose the greatest of these common factors, which is 9. So the GCF of 36 and 45 is 9. Let's do a quick recap. The answer to the question which numbers multiply to the original numbers, or the question which numbers divide evenly into the original numbers, gives you the factors of the original numbers. Write these factors in a list. Then the second step is to mark all common factors in your list. And the third step is to choose the greatest common factor of all common factors. That will be then your greatest common factor, also called the GCF. In my next video, I'll show you the prime factorization method to find the greatest common factor of two numbers. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments. This video is what I did for you. If you want to do something for me, hit the bell button, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching and happy learning, everyone.